Greetings, everyone. I am Pete Pardo from Sea of Tranquility. Welcome to pick and day number 13 of my 30 favorite cover songs of all time. We're doing this each and every day here this month in November 2025. Those cover songs, maybe that band or artist covering a very well-known track. Maybe it's a pretty obscure song that they redid, made their own, and that's the more well-known of the two. Or maybe it's just a faithful rendition of a beloved song that does some really cool things on its own and doesn't necessarily surpass the original, but it's so damn impressive that we love it anyway, right? So today, if you've been paying attention, I'm kind of doing a continuation of yesterday's theme. So yesterday, we talked about an artist who remade a song that came out earlier in the year, the same year that they released their version. And it kind of really put that song on the map. And for most people, it's the one that they remember the most. Well, that artist who covered that original song is the original song for today. And the person who covered it came out probably, 15 years later or thereabouts, something like that, 18 years later. Neither one of these guys are with us anymore. They both were kind of taken from us way too early. They're both guitar players. So the original song was released on an album that came out October 16th, 1968, recorded at Olympic and Mayfair Studios in London, England, also at the record plant in New York City. Produced by Jimi Hendrix for Reprise Records, Polydor, Track Records, wherever you might have been. Electric Ladyland is the song. Voodoo Child, Slight Return is the actual track, right? So, of course, Voodoo Child is the last song on this album. It is a killer track, one of the original kind of like heavy songs. Because, for late 1968, Voodoo Child, pretty damn heavy, right? That molten guitar playing from Hendrix and, everything about the vibe is just awesome. It's just a great track, and it's long been discussed as one of Hendrix's great songs. Guitar playing is amazing, right? It's that kind of funky, kind of wah-wah lick thing, just really good. The soloing is just great. It's got great groove, and it's just heavy and psychedelic and proto-metal-y and all that kind of stuff. So a song that, it's in the kind of honored halls of classic tracks from the 60s. Not something that most bands or artists would want to tackle, right? However, this guitar player from Texas decided to do so. May 15th, 1984, his second album comes out, recorded at the Power Station in New York City, produced by Jim Caffer, Richard Mullen, the band, and Stevie Ray Vaughan for Epic Records. I'm talking about Couldn't Stand the Weather by Stevie Ray Vaughan, his interpretation of Voodoo Child, Slight Return, of course, which drops in as the last song on side one of the original vinyl. Of course, Stevie Ray, electric bluesman, blues rock, whatever you want to call it. He was a very big fan of Jimi Hendrix. And I remember the first time I heard Voodoo Child from Stevie Ray on the radio and Double Trouble on the radio. I was absolutely floored at how good it was. He captures the vibe of it in a major way, but he kind of makes it his own because he kind of Texifies the Hendrix classic. Everything is kind of the same, but he throws in all these little things that are just so trademark Stevie Ray Vaughan, and his version is not really psychedelic. It's heavy, but it's more kind of rooted in the blues. But it's just as ferocious. I mean, the tone he gets, especially on the solo, is just great. He does like the cool opening, funky wah-wah lick great, and it's just got this kind of groove to it and just heft to it. But then, of course, he doesn't sing anything like Hendrix, so he's got the Texas drawl thing going on. It just really works. It's the same. It's similar enough, but different enough at the same time. And I think, I don't think I've ever come across anybody who did not like this version of Voodoo Child. I think it's remarkably good. And I think a lot of us probably were, after hearing this, hoping that he would do more Hendrix from time to time, right? There's a couple of guitar players, like, Frank Marino's another guy who, actually did more Hendrix covers than Stevie Ray ever did, and Frank also did amazing job on Hendrix stuff. Might we see Frank later on this month? Possibly. Spoiler alert, folks. But yeah, this is just so good, and it's got the production value obviously is very different. This is more of kind of like a clean production for this really gritty, heavy track. Whereas, Hendrix is just like molten and dripping and psychedelia and, fuzz guitars and everything like that. And I think Stevie goes for a little bit of a different tone here, but it really, really works. It still captures the ferocious nature of this song, which I think is really, really key. It's just really good. And, the whole solo part of it is great. And the closing finale, just really, really good. And I think for many people, if you weren't already on board with Stevie Ray Vaughan from the Texas Flood album, and then when this album came out, and I don't remember if this was released as a single first or whether this was just an album track they played, because I don't remember if Couldn't Stand. Yeah, see, the information I'm seeing is that it shows these singles were all released in '84. I don't know what the actual dates were, but Voodoo Child, Cold Shot, and Couldn't Stand the Weather were all released as singles, but I don't remember which one came out first. I don't think that Voodoo Child came out first, if my memory escapes me. I know they were all kind of released in succession fairly rapidly, but I just remember like hearing it, and like I remember hearing it first on the radio because I don't think I bought this like immediately. I remember hearing a couple tracks on the local FM rock radio station first before I actually went out and bought it, even though I already had Texas Flood, but I just didn't jump on this one right away. So, and this was a pretty big album for the band, right? It made it to number 31 on the Billboard charts. It did go double platinum, 2 million copies sold, and like I said, I think a lot of the rock audience who maybe hadn't jumped on board with his brand of blues rock with the debut album, once they heard his version of the song, that was the kind of the selling point to investigate this catalog a little bit further. So yeah, that's my pick for today. Voodoo Child, Slight Return from Stevie Ray Vaughan. Of course, the great remake from the original song that came from this album. Both classic albums right here, folks. Great guitar player. Again, we lost Stevie, 6 years later. It was 1990, 1991, something like that. After he had gotten clean and all that kind of stuff and had his total life back in order and was making new music again. It's a real shame. I still remember the day he passed away, when they announced it. I was working in New York City at the time, and my buddy and I, who worked at the same company at the time, we were on our lunch break, and we were in a Blimpie. I don't know if you guys remember the Blimpie sandwich shop that was big in New York back in the day. We were waiting online to get our Blimpie sandwiches, and it was a long line. We were there for a bit, and they played 2 Stevie Ray Vaughan songs back to back they were playing the radio through the, in the shop, in the store, in the restaurant, whatever you want to call it, local, that was WNEW. They played 2 songs in a row, and I was kind of like, that's kind of weird, because it wasn't Double Shot Tuesday or Double Shot Wednesday, whatever the hell it was. And I was like, and then we were kind of listening, and then the DJ came on and talked about how Stevie Ray had passed away the night before, in a plane crash, and we were floored. I remember it was like it was yesterday, right? It's amazing how you remember like where you were when notable people pass away, and what you were doing and all that sort of stuff, even though it was like 30 some odd years ago, right? So anyway, that's my pick for today. Let us know what you think of Voodoo Child, Slight Return from Stevie Ray Vaughan down in the comments below, as well as your pick for today, and we'll see you tomorrow for another one. This is on the web at www.seatranquility.org. We're on Facebook, YouTube, and Instagram all the damn time. Please subscribe if you haven't already, and click on that notification bell so you get alert of all of our content as a post. And please do hit the like button before you leave. Also down below, we got the links to our Ko-Fi page for channel donations, our merch page, our Cameo page, and the Sea of Tranquility membership options, all down below. Thanks in advance for all your support, folks. It's greatly appreciated, and we'll see you soon here with more stuff. No Professor's Picks tomorrow. I spoke to Ken. He doesn't have enough new releases coming out this week to do a show, so we'll catch up with that next week. We do have Count Ralphus and myself will be doing another episode of the book club. We've both read a bunch of music biographies, autobiographies, and things like that, so we've got another new episode for you. We've got the UK Connection coming up this weekend, and we've got a double shot of ranking the albums once again. I will be ranking the albums of Forbidden and Geronimo. Geronimo is a very cool early 70s German hard rock band, and Forbidden, of course, a great 80s and 90s thrash band from the Bay Area. So that's all coming up this weekend. Till then, I'm Pete Pardo. Thanks for watching, everybody. Bye-bye.